Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to some more Let's Play Underrail. In the last episode, we ventured into the Boneyard, where the Serpentborn bury their dead. Those who have, I suppose, qualified as being worthy of doing so in their eyes and their culture. We discovered that they submerge some of these corpses in underwater tombs. And the marking we had received from Yangwar showed which of these devices we should interact with to drag the corpse up and into our presence so we could inspect it. And it looks like there's quite a bit of options for you to search the body as well. I am assuming things go poorly for you if you select the wrong place to search, or a good amount of real-life time elapses if you try to search every single bit of the corpse. In any case, we walked out of there with a shard piece, and when we examined it, we were able to retrieve something from within it, which also changed the form of the shard to the ethereal torch. We were told a little bit about it from Azif, who suspects it is a part of a godman weapon, but one that doesn't do as much damage as he would have expected them to do. And now with this, from as much as I understand of this item, we are now able to deal with the shadow lith, something I have never done down in the Abyssal Station. And a heads up, I have avoided watching anyone also deal with it, so we're going to go ahead and figure this out ourselves when we get down there today. One or two more things before we get going. Number one, thank you guys for responding to the last video. I had asked you guys what we should do about the survivor that is down in the Abyssal Station. Todd, thank you for reminding me what his name is as well. And the impression I got from you guys, thank you again for this take, is Tim, do what you would like to do. However, don't feel obligated to talk with him, as you've done this many times before on your channel. I only bring this up in relation to Todd because there is quite a bit of conversation to do. And when we see Todd, I will summarize what his deal is. And some of these things are puzzles. There will be, I think, technically there's 4 puzzles, but we only have to do 3 of them. So, because one of them will automatically always succeed at it. It's always the same puzzle that we succeed at. Well, you guys don't care. But what we'll do when we get down there is, when we interact with Todd, I will do a little bit of reading for him so you guys can understand what he's about in case you've never seen it before and for some reason you found this video amongst all my videos for Underrail first. And then I will cut the recording, do the rest of it off screen, and when we come back, we will be ready to proceed further into the Abyssal Station. Number 2, I've been having some OBS problems, and my computer updated itself without me knowing, and I had some audio issues. I think they've all been worked out. I double check now before I begin recording, so hopefully things are coming out okay. If they aren't, please tell me, and we can re-record this episode if there are leftover problems. Hopefully nothing of that is occurring. We'll talk about this for a few minutes. We'll make this episode a little longer than what I normally do to make up for this. So, I was trying to record The Legend of Black Silver yesterday, and I had some issues trying to get OBS Studio to record it unless I tweaked options, settings, and output configurations. And I didn't want to flip-flop all of this stuff between recording Underrail, which I'm using OBS to record at this resolution, and Black Silver, which I need to use OBS for, because I can't capture it with fraps. And I was trying to see if there is a way for me to save off all of my settings for a particular scene configuration and all my settings as one thing. So this way I could save off my Underrail settings and then have a different settings for other games. And you can't apparently do it. You have to configure these things individually, and you have to flip all of these different configurations whenever you begin recording a different game. So what this means is that we're sticking with the Underrail as the game I will focus on for OBS, and unfortunately that means I can't record very many other games on this computer at the moment because there aren't a whole many of them that I can use Fraps for any longer. At least not the ones I wanted to record at this moment. Alright, so that was a way of me also trying to say, hey, if you notice anything visual wrong with the game, tell me. Because OBS began changing things back to their defaults when I was trying to save off profiles, and I was really angry that I had to double check everything. So please let me know if anything looks out of place in the visual as well. I will, of course, double check it, and I've already checked before recording this episode to make sure things look like they're coming out okay. But maybe something is wrong and I miss it. Alright, with all that said, let's make sure I have everything I want before we go down here. I do, bringing Pentapus Barbecue with me, so this way we can carry out loot. Alright, with all that said, which wasn't very much, let's go ahead and begin. We earned 50 experience points for walking into this. 0 meters, our depth gauge. I believe we looked at the information displayed on the submarine about its systems, about how many of the thrusters or engines are kaput, so we can't really go very far with this. And its navigation system will only allow us to reach Abyssal Station 0, but only from this particular location. It's close enough to do so. We don't have to navigate under everything else. This also hints that there are some areas in the Black Sea that are deep compared to others. I was always under the impression, well, not always, but most of the Black Sea felt like it wasn't too deep. Maybe like, I don't know, 200 yards? 300 yards at most? Which would be, what is that? It's about the same in meters, about 300 meters or so. But it would seem as if some of this is quite a bit deeper. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at the main controls. And yes, we have no primary thrusters operational and 5 secondary, so it's probably just enough. And thankfully, these thrusters, the 5 that are operational, allow us to move in the directions we need to move in, or can be used to do so. So I think we're set. Limited automatic piloting available through course docking navigation system. Okay, so we should make sure that our navigation's set up correctly. Our course. Please input. Okay, so we have to manually do we have to manually insert it? Our sonar status is off. I thought we were ready to go. Can we just say dive? We are. We're ready to go to the Abyssal Station 0. By the way, this reminds me of interacting with this and the way it communicates information to me. Reminds me a little bit of the old Space Quest games when interacting with the various computer systems on the spaceships I used to play in. I should record that sometime. Alright, anyway, the coordinates are verified. Our thrusters can get us there. Our sub-navigation units, the pinging them, so things that are out there that can help us navigate, none of them responded. It can at least, it knows how to orient itself to get us down there, and it can successfully plot the course. We're ready. Let's go. You glimpse faint, gloomy shapes of sunken vessels and debris around you before descending into the darkness. The walls are getting closer. You're descending into a gorge of some kind. What was that? You stare outside. You see a blue light on one of the walls, a beacon. Then the space around you expands again. Fall apart, damn it. You know, people like imploding, Tim. You see another beacon. Come on. Another beacon. The station must be close. Such a neat effect. You can see us entering some sort of bay right there with the way the lights worked. And we're 1,437 meters, which to my American mind is about the same in yards. And I used to know how much a mile was. I think we're not quite a mile. Is that right? Yeah, just barely, I think, not quite a mile. Alright, that's still pretty deep underwater, so let's go ahead and leave. A LOX tank. A liquid oxygen tank with a few cryo canisters next to it. They all appear to be powered and functional, maintaining the low temperature necessary for oxygen to remain in liquid form. We don't have to manipulate this, nor refill our submarine or anything of the sort. It's also kind of lucky, I suppose, for Tim here, or luck isn't, I suppose, the proper word to use, but that there's oxygen in this station still. Nothing would guarantee that we leave the submarine and immediately be unable to breathe and pass out because of it, and then die. There's a suit here that we can't interact with. A good amount of these LOX tanks. Shame we can't actually get the submarine in a better working order. Quality 94 steel plates. So far, nothing worth looting. The computer console reads elevator control console. It is, however, out of order. Not going any deeper that way. Some spikes. We don't care about spikes. There is a working computer down here. We have the adrenaline. We could probably raise this gate. Let's check the computer first. Lemco, LC387. Welcome, P. Bridges. Unable to connect to ASIN. Only local data is available. Cargo traffic log. Sorted by priority. The Acorn was delivered to the Research and Development Dome. You know, viewer, we only had 2 votes for what to do with the Acorn. Destroy it, or Oh, I forget what the other one was, but giving it to someone that I hadn't thought we might be able to give it to. Another option we have is just to leave it here. We don't have to take it. Or we could take it and just leave it someplace that no one would ever find it. Is there an active security supervisor here? There is not. And the wardrobe has a deep sea water globe. And some frag grenades. It's almost £1 for these, and the value is very low, so we're not going to take them. We're not coming back here, viewer, or I've never made the attempt to do so. I don't think you can. So I might be wrong there. I've never made the attempt. However, I'm going to assume we can't. So we're going to want to carry out only the things that are worth the most from this place. High quality components and any weapons or equipment which is of a decent value. A pile of strongmen and blade maidens. Static. Firefight. Static. Static. Sub-islander. Static. Elevator. Danger. Most sorry. Inconvenience. Oh, I like the eyes flashing still. Did you guys see that? It's dead. There's a gaping hole in its chest, apparently made by a plasma projectile. Maybe these things went rogue like all the other ones did. And the people here had to put them down. Your nutrient bars need exercise. Healthy and fit. Todd. There's something down there, but we need a 10 dexterity to get it. And our dexterity can only be 9 maximum, I think. Does this increase dex? Wait, or can it? That's strength by 4. That's strength by 2. I didn't bring any special foods with me to increase my dexterity by more than... We could take a super soldier drug to get me what I need to reach down there and see what that is. We'll leave it there at the moment. Manufacturing. Residential 2. That door is shut with no apparent way for us to open it. This must be the actual seafloor. I like the lighting color here too. It seems appropriate to be this off-white, slightly bluish green tinge color. 112 quality hawker. Not good enough for me to take it. A frame, that is. Nothing in the locker. Alright, well, the first room had nothing really in it, huh? Nothing in the crate. A bunch of empty cargo crates. Likely, whoever was living here for some time has consumed or utilized everything that's stored here. I'm guessing this is where shipping and receiving was located, somewhere around here. Probably here, right? To watch what was coming in and make sure it gets to the other places down here, petrol stations here, where it's needed. And other things they would find down here would be shipped back up to the surface. Ooh, a corpse up here. Two plasma cells. Some level 15 steel boots, we don't need those. Those don't weigh anything, we'll take them. A cloaking device, we'll take that. Hammer is not worth taking. I wonder what he was doing up there. I guess he came up here, hid with an armed weapon, using that cloaking device to make sure if anyone looked up here, he'd be remain invisible. But probably died anyway. Maybe something saw him. Now we can get this strength that we need to open this gate by eating... Oh, well, I should... Let's think. What's my current dexterity? 8. Okay, that's fine. So we don't need to eat dex food. We have the bison milk. And now we can use our adrenaline to open this gate. I don't think I ever did this in the past, by the way, viewer. I wasn't, smart's the wrong word. I did not recall that I could use adrenaline to improve my strength. Pesticides. Fusing enzymes, we'll take that. Some more bullets. 115 electromagnetic deflector. It doesn't weigh very much, we'll take it. We could give ourselves +1 perception with the goggles in here and look for secrets. Alright, nothing really worth taking in that room. Do I use a super soldier drug to reach down here to take whatever is down here? I think we will. An MK3 plasma grenade. Worth it for us, as we're not going to be able to ever make it. I didn't look at the sign outside, but this feels like the crew quarters? Must be a restaurant right in here. Cafeteria. This is a large lounge area. Someone moved everything into the center of the room. A normal health hypo. Nothing in the medical cart. Atlantean health report. A detailed health report on the sub-islander population transferred from Atlantis to Lemuria. It clearly promotes their suitability for life in compact, isolated environments, like Abyssal Station 0. 2 Audi points. Welcome, P-Bridges. Unable to connect to ASIN. Only local data is available. Notes? Medication synthesized unit reminder. Useful substitutes in case of shortages. Bullhead focus stem, attention deficit disorder. Third eye for perception disorders. Hypercerebrix for cognitive disorders. Jumping beam for physical ones, and twitch for reflexes. Medical records? The only person we can look at is Todd Newman. His ID, his full name, Todd Angus Newman, his birth date, what room he's in, not applicable for occupation, married to Sineva Stig Oyvinder. Blood pressure is a bit high. He's Allergic to aspirin. That sucks. Dust and nickel. Hormone test results. Okay levels of testosterone. Low, slightly low of free testosterone. Don't know if that's just something you should be looking at. Everything else looks okay. Nothing else in the lockers. You might have heard some breathing for a few seconds, everyone. We will see who that is in a few seconds, or minutes. Most of the dishes are moldy and appear as though they haven't been touched in a long time. There's some disgusting puke green mass in the sink as well. Ooh. Quite a bit of canned food. That is Todd. Power RD is in this direction. Docking and manufacturing the other way. Chewed up pill bottle. An empty bottle of, I can't pronounce that, a potent antidepressant. Someone was in a hurry to get those pills. And a single antidote. He observes you with caution, panting heavily while at the same time trying to be as still as possible. He takes his time with his greeting. Hi. I hope I didn't scare you there. It takes him some more time to respond. Hi. I never thought I'd find anyone alive down here. He thinks long about your question. I am alive? Who are you anyway? Todd. My name is Todd. Todd Newman. Nice to... It's... Nice to meet you, mister. Is there anyone else down here, Todd? Down? He looks down. No one. Here, there are two families living here. The Newmans and the Oivenders. Without warning, his tenor of voice changes to a high-pitched hoarse... I can't pronounce this. Falsetto? Todd! Who are you talking to? Then it drops to a bassy rumble. By the depths! What is all this commotion? Who is this person? Who is this person, boy? Oh, mother, father, this is, outsider. He came from... From the outside? Is it from the outside? Speak! It's a man. Leave it, Shelley. A woman wouldn't make a difference anyway. The boy's useless. Angus, don't draw attention to it in front of the visitor. Who gives a damn, woman? If only we had more children, Shelley. Many children. Then we could afford a failure or two. Mother, father, not in front of Mr. Outsider, please. Why do you always have to be so mean to me? Why? Shut up, you sniveling idiot. Shut up. Do not interject. Listen to me. You stop talking to this person this instant, and return to your exercise. You got that, boy? You got that? You listen to your father now, Todd, and don't forget to eat the nutrient bars I prepared for you. Yes, Mother. Father. Todd manages to say that through tears. He clears his throat, clearly hurt by the insane acrobatics his vocal cords have endured. I'm... sorry, mister. I have to go... exercise. Say nothing. He jogs away. Let's do that summary I mentioned now, viewer. Todd has been down here alone for a long time, and he's witnessed the other people that he cared about, and that potentially cared about him, die. He has had to cope with this, and has done so in this manner. Both coping of being alone down here in the station as it continues to fall apart, and of witnessing everyone he cared for go. I don't know if I qualify it with multiple personalities, but they do speak through him, as it were. He seems to remember or has created these personalities based on the members of his immediate family, the Newmans, and that of his wife, the Oivenders. When we speak to him after we loot this place, look around for any other clues as to where we're supposed to be going, the research and development area, we will need to pass a series of tests where we convince the members of the Oivenders and Newman's different family members that he has personalities of, to convince Todd to allow us to access the research and development dome. If you don't want to drag Todd there or kill him, cut his arm off and use it to access the dome, then you must pass 4 puzzles, which involve convincing those personalities to allow you to pass. I've done it multiple times on my channel in the past, if you can find where I am down here in Abyssal Station, if you've never seen this before, but it can be quite involved to convince him to do these things. As such, we will cut the recording, and I will do that off screen, and return after it has been completed. It will take me about 20 minutes or a little longer to actually go through all the dialogue between him and his family members, discover information about the station, and then solve the puzzles. I guess I should summarize, as we're exploring, some of what transpired down here. There was effectively a civil war which occurred down here, where a significant amount of disagreement happened between the Lumarians, who came down here from the area above, and the Atlantans, a group of people who came down here and lived down here for maybe 1 generation or so, was the impression I got, and were used to living down here in such enclosed, tight living quarters environments. One of the groups, I think it was the Atlanteans, was a bit better with technology as well, and this created a bit of a kerfuffle between them and the Lemurians, culminating in a battle which took place. There was also what happened with the people who went into the dome, who were comprised, I think, mainly of sub-islanders, I think. Or maybe it was Lemurian, I can't remember now. But they sealed the dome and wouldn't come out until one day they did, and they were changed. They were more akin to demons at that point than people, having done some crazy experiments on themselves, and I believe they were the first generation of the Serpentborn who are above. They slaughtered many people and eventually left to the surface, with several other people who remained here in hiding. The dome was also then barred from entry from anyone who remained down here, and Todd remembers this barring from his father, or his family, and doesn't have the strength or courage to go in there, which is why we will be required to convince him to do so. Oh, there's a picture here we should look at, by the way. A digital frame displaying an animated family photograph. The family is tagged as Agnes, Shelley, and Todd Newman. They are standing in a meadow of crimson grass flowing in the wind. The father of the family is a bald, stubby man, wearing an engineering suit and an ill-tempered expression on his ill-set face. The mother is a thin woman with deep green eyes embedded in a pale, featureless face. She is wearing a pristine white suit with many colored ornaments. Between them is Todd, a young, skinny, thin-haired, pale boy trying to find a suitable smile for the camera. I like that the picture actually also looks like what it's describing. A lot of detail in that little frame. These little rooms remind me a bit about staying in a hospital. You don't have much room to yourself at all, and it's mostly just a bed, with maybe a desk nearby and a chair for visitors, maybe a window to look out of. I could probably get used to living in something this small, with just a bed and one particular locker to hold things that you care about. I would have to drop quite a few things that I own in my house, but I could do it. Broken motion picture frame. A small hand-sized animated picture frame. It is heavily damaged, with one side being completely dark and the other notably distorted with its animation frozen, all of which gives the people so depicted an unnerving appearance as they stare at the missing half. Ooh, creepy. Definitely taking that 2-point oddity item. A lifting belt, a bunch of cloth. Looks like that's a bathroom for everybody. Oh, that is something that I would not get used to. The lack of my own private restroom. Low quality frame. Drive a reloader we'll take though. A fusion cell. We don't need that. We'll take the plasma cell. Fusion. Wait, the fusion cell we can hold. That's one of these. It's not the greater fusion cell, which weighs a little bit. The computer. It depicts two blueprints side by side, one for handmaidens, the other for strongmen. Certain components are highlighted on both sides, and the properties displayed, presumably for comparison. Search all the lockers, Tim. It's like some people had more lockers than others. Oh no, I just failed to search those other lockers. Well, we can't allow that to happen. You get one big locker and two small lockers, with some rooms having another larger locker, huh? We do not need that repair kit. That one's locked. Empty tool bracer. Abyssal Station 0. Through its transparent cover, you can see lots of various tools, none of which are present. The tools are stored around the user's forearm, which could be rotated until reaching an opening in the interior side. From there, they are likely inserted into or even extracted from the hand. Unfortunately, this neat-looking device doesn't appear to be functional anymore. We need this to solve one of the puzzles, which involves convincing Agnes, his father, to allow us to go to the dome. So I'm going to take that item. And most of you are just going to be searching all this on screen. I don't know why this person had a trap. This person has a crawler poison bear trap in their locker. I guess they existed even back then, huh? Another painting. A digital frame displaying an animated family photograph. The family is tagged as Stig, Asta, and Seneva Oyvinder. They are standing in a warmly illuminated hall of imposing perpendicular architecture. The father of the family is a tall, smiling man, wearing a Lemurian doctor's coat and high-tech monocle over his light blue eyes. The mother is a petite, smiling blonde, wearing a simple but fitting, elegant cyan dress. Blue-eyed as well, but is wearing bifocal high-tech glasses instead. The daughter is a spitting image of her mother, the major differences being her somewhat lighter shade of hair and softer around her features. The Oyvinders. Obviously, as we've already read, Todd and the daughter here married. Some drug blueprints, hinting that maybe the family, one of them was involved in medicine. I believe the father was. We already have them, though, and I don't need to take them. A larger room. Child's drawing. It's a piece of e-paper containing a shaky drawing of Lumeria. Buildings, people, servants, horned animals, crimson meadows. It's all there beneath a towering blue light. 2 oddity points. Quite a few audio points down here already. Must get such a little boost. Todd. Hello? Why don't we... An odor of pungent sour sweetness. Sweat mixed with sweat permeates the area. The air. The ventilation units appear to be out of order. Oh, man. Alright, viewer. I'm going to talk with Todd. I'm going to cut the recording. And I'll be back. I don't believe I can solve all his puzzles right now. We'll keep exploring. I'll come back here again and speak with Todd a little more. And then we'll solve his puzzles completely. I will see you guys in a few seconds. Alright, everyone. Alright, I'm back. I talked with Todd about everything that can be talked to him about without beginning any of the puzzling. A few corrections about what I said earlier. The sub-islanders came, I believe it means like under islands, and they come from Atlantis, which is a different area that NFT, I suppose, had people within, which was all underwater or within tight living conditions, such as what we see here. And they came here to this location to live here with the Lumerians, I think, who represent the natives of this area with all the research on the islands up above. The war that happened between them wasn't a civil war, although there was some arguments that occurred therein. The sub-islanders were used to living in these conditions, and the Lumerians were not. I'm going to keep using that terminology for these people, so I apologize if I am wrong about it. The sub-islanders eventually did all of the research within the Research and Development Dome, and eventually even general laboratories as well, with the natives locked out of doing anything of the sort. This strained relationships here, as well as the two groups began not to trust each other. This was confounded or made worse by people who eventually would go to the dome, eventually stopped leaving the dome, the Research and Development Dome, altogether. And the family members of those who went in there, the other sub-islanders, were very worried, as before that had happened, they were spending more and more and more time there, and became more and more obsessed about their original heritage, their original sub-islander culture, and began talking about weird or very strange things. Eventually, about 2 generations... Is generation the right word? About 200 years ago, the dome opened after many years of no one leaving it. And what came out were the people were changed who had been living there. I think they still looked mostly like humans, but their clothing was very horrific from what one of Todd's personalities had said. And I believe the change had begun over to the Serpentborn at that point. They fought with everyone who was here. They wanted to kill everyone who was considered weak, all the Lemurians, and any of the Sub-Islanders' families who did not join them were also going to be killed. The battles took place. The survivors here, they holed up in in the second living quarters, residential area. They were able to preserve several of the domes that existed from invasion by these folks. Hold on. Yes, some laser pistols. This one and this one can come with me. This must be the armory for what's down here. The sign would probably say so. Security office, yep. For Todd himself, he was born after all this had transpired. And his family sounds like they also were born after all this had transpired. With basically, at the time, only his family and the Oivenders were the only ones left down here. The station itself is on its last legs. There's no more spare parts to be had, apparently. Todd has repaired what he could, or rather his father has, or, one of his personalities. But he's made mistakes as he's had to learn how to do things on his own, and that can be rough without any assistance or anyone else to give assistance to you. He flooded one of the domes and made another one off limits thanks to his repairs, and his father's personality hates him because of it, or rather really looks down on him for making all these mistakes. Medication unit. Please select the item you wish to synthesize. MSCC gauge level 35%. I don't really think we need any of this, so I'm just going to leave it here for Todd. We have plenty of stuff to make drugs in our own home. As for the personalities, there are 4 of them, besides Todd. Todd's family, his father and mother, and the Oivenders' families, father and mother, but not Sineva. She is currently not able to be talked to. Abyssal Station 0 Research and Development Dome. Alright, swipe our hand across the panel. Authenticating. Welcome, Pete Bridges. Authorizing. Authorization failed. Outdated implant security module version. Please report to the medical office in either residential domes for necessary implant updates or replacement. Alright. Is that here? We can't do anything in this place. Is it this device? I don't think so. This is a synthesization unit. So there are other areas, but they're off limits and we cannot access them. One of them might have been damaged during the battle, and it's permanently off limits or what have you. Anyway, because of what happened, the research dome is considered off limits, and to my knowledge, no one's family, the personalities of Todd, have never been in there. Neither has Todd, although he has access to it, thanks to the chip implant in his hand. And I believe we've explored all of this, so now, viewer, I will off-screen doing the puzzle with Todd. So I'll be right back again. Alright, viewer, I am back. I forgot how sad this is. Oh man, poor Todd. He's been through a lot. So the main reason why I cut the recording, by the way, in this section isn't because the puzzles are necessarily hard. The one with the father, so I guess I'll describe it. You have to... I'll describe all the puzzles as quickly as I can. This will maybe take like 5 minutes here. I apologize, but we've also saved ourselves about 30 minutes of going through some of these. For Todd's father's puzzle, you have to make it... He's angry that his son seems so incompetent, and you prove to him this personality that he's not by, when the father is instructing you how to use this tool device, you need to make enough mistakes that the personality has to come in and show you how to correctly do it. But not too many that it's obvious that you are making these mistakes on purpose. After you succeed, Todd's personality takes over briefly, because Todd, remember, is acting as a personality for all these different people. And his father realizes that Todd knows how to use this device, because Todd's personality, father's personality, knows how to use it, and told us how to correctly use it. And then Todd points out that he had to learn how to use all this stuff on his own. And his father comes to terms with maybe he's not as incompetent as he thought. For Todd's mother's side, it's the most confusing for me, and I don't quite understand it. You have to assuage, I think it's the correct word to say, some of her concerns about the environment by navigating through a conversation tree so that you can always bring back a topic to the picture they have in their room. And you have to solve, I think it's 4 different problems that she has. It's very confusing, because if you get the wrong conversation topic, you get put into a different part of the conversation tree, and or having to start all over again. It takes the longest of any of the puzzles for me to solve, because I don't quite understand how to solve it, but I do know what I'm looking for as an answer as I go through it, and I know eventually I've done this I've answered this question this way, or I made this statement this way, and it goes back to this other statement, so that's not the one I want to choose. I want to choose another one. Eventually, you're able to convince her that Todd should be going out, and that he can benefit from some of this. I think something of the sort. On the Oyvinder side, Asta, you don't have to do any puzzle for her. You just have to bring her up, and she will do what her husband says. For her husband, you have to convince him that the medical procedures and the tests he's had done, and the psychological things that might be wrong with him, that you can solve these puzzles and help Todd to overcome them by answering them in certain ways. And the answers, you get these 5 or 6 questions, and it's multiple choice for each one. Depending upon how well you do on those answers, the father will tell you how he's feeling in regards to the answers you've given, letting a hint that how many you got right or wrong. But it doesn't say you got 5 wrong. He's like, I'm almost convinced, or I'm nowhere near convinced, for example. Now, us having the will that we have shows you what answers to pick for most of them. It was only the last one I actually had to choose. I was like, which one of these is the right answer? And I managed to get it right the first time. In any case, you have to answer those 5 or 6 questions correctly, and you convince the father of that answer. Now here we are. There's also Senya, his wife. So I figured we'd pick up from here, now that I've explained a good amount of this. And we'll do the rest of the conversation with Todd, and see if he will go to the R&D dome for us. Can I talk to Senya, Todd? Unfortunately, no. She can't speak to you. Or anyone else. She is resting. All of this concerning Todd, it's too heavy a burden for her. She's resting. Can you let Todd unlock the gate to R&D for me? So this is all the voices talking at the same time. I suppose we can trust him to unlock it, but what if... Alright, it can't be that bad. You convinced me freedom of movement and action would benefit his health. And my husband convinced me. What you see in Todd's face seems to represent everyone looking at each other. One by one, they begin to nod. And then... Yes. Yes, you have our, permission to take the boy to the gate. But remember what we've talked about, Tim. I will do so right away. Todd, are you in there somewhere? He closes his eyes and reopens them after a few moments. Me? I need you to unlock the gate to the R&D dome for me. I can't go there. I told you. I talked to your parents. They allow it. They do? Yes. They do. Follow me. Todd brings his right hand near the gate control screen. The red light turns on and the gate opens. He pauses, almost as if he wishes to turn away and leave, but instead speaks with a new voice, not too dissimilar to his usual tenor. Todd? He looks around. Senya? Seneva? Can you hear me, Todd? Yes, I'm helping Tim. And you? Are you feeling well? How's our baby boy doing? Todd. What's the matter, Senya? How's our boy? Don't you know what I'm talking about? It took us so long, Senya. But we finally did it. You gave me a boy. Her eyes fill with tears. Todd, I'm dead. Frey is dead. We did not survive the birth. My parents, your parents, everyone. You don't know whose teary eyes you're staring into, but after a while, it doesn't seem to matter. You were waiting for me, to make you happy, Senya, for so long. You can't be. He wipes his tears away. You are. And I am alone. He gives you a sad and unmistakably more mature look. Then he turns around and jogs away. God, it's so sad. Woo! Man, reading, because I read, I didn't flick through the answers quickly. I made sure to read everything to remind myself what was happening down here, because I do very much like the lore. So I had, man, it's so sad. Oh my goodness. All right. And now it is time for us to explore the R&D dome. Now, of course, viewer, I've been here before, and I know what to do, and more or less how to get there. But Tim has not, so I'm going to do this a little cautiously, for his sake. So what Tim knows is this place had been filled with sub-islanders doing research, and that research seemed to consume them, and seemed to drive them insane, or to the point where, not insane, where they seem to be possessed by the desire to do whatever it was that they had done to the population of this island and leave to the surface, at which point they became the Serpentborn. Excellent material for fireproof clothing, as basalt fibers are highly resistant to. Rebars made from these fibers have a much higher strength-to-weight ratio and corrosion resistance. wool for insulation, filtration, as hydroponic growth medium. Nothing seems out of the ordinary here. No, I won't do it. Even though let's do it. We'll do it. You should never shut these doors behind you. Not in this instance, but I'm gonna do it because I'm hoping we have a different outcome from our encounter with the Shadowlith this time, and because I usually shut doors behind me in the games I play. This is very reminiscent of Hollow Earth, this room. I would imagine most things here would be well, not unusable. They've made things to last, apparently, in Underrail. A symbiotic environment combining conventional aquaculture with hydroponics, making the aquaponics. Fish, crustaceans, mollusks, hydrosian colonies. Biofilters, where nitrification bacteria convert ammonia into nitrates for plant. That area seems to be just a giant dead end. It can't be, because we can't go up anywhere in this direction. Oh, down here. No corpses here, which should be what we expect, given what we've learned that everyone left the R&D dome and no one's been in here since. Oh, there's a little power core. You can take that for only half a pound. Ooh, well, I said we didn't see any corpses, but there's the remains of someone in here. Skeletal now. More remains. Seems a bit large for a human. Remember, the Serpentborn can be quite larger than we are, depending upon the level of change that has transpired for them. Medsynth canisters are a manufacturing dome. Demand for the drugs for tests treating various disorders in the native population, both mental and physical, due to inadaptability to living conditions. Not for the sub-islander population, that is, for us. Yeah, they viewed the Lemurians, the natives, as a hindrance to them. A weird but oddly familiar symbol written in red on a piece of electronic paper. One oddity point. between R&D and the remaining submariners and subspheres. No access to food processing dome. Through Residential 1, the time has come for my siblings who sadly couldn't see the truth. Uh-oh. Sounds a bit more prophetic. And a bit more ominous. Just as he had expunged the invading submarine, tons and tons of sooted slime in its place, darkening, bringing a fragment of that which gave us wisdom. Flotsumer's power, infinite. Sacrifice of human flesh and bone, cut into pieces and arranged according to instructions, while the liver is dipped into the solution. Blood collected in a bowl, mixed with shadow dust and sprinkled across. Ignite the crystal incense, to cast shadow light upon. Uh-oh. Seems like Doom Guy should have shown up here a little earlier, huh? Or at all. Some okay quality shield components. We can take those. They don't weigh very much. This has been the theme for quite a few games I've played that involve technology that's as advanced as this game's, where the scientists go insane, or seem to go insane according to my standards, or what I would understand as sanity, and research into the occult as well. Hellgate was one such game that I played which had such, and there's several others as well, which I can't think of the names of any of them at the moment. If you ask me to, unfortunately. But it seems to be an ongoing or a trope that is used somewhat regularly. Imagine that you do a bunch of research, or you find something like the Shadowlith, and your head begins being filled with thoughts of doing such horrific experiments on other people and so on, or things that you know would be deemed rather questionable by an ethics committee. Okay, viewer. The Shadowlith. We just read, I never made this connection earlier because I didn't remember what was on the computer terminal, but I do at this moment. A piece of it taken for Flotsumer, like to mimic Flotsumer's infinite strength, or something similar to that we had read. And this piece here is a sliced off piece of this Shadowlith. A bunch of bullets, those can stay. We don't need bullets, those can stay. We don't need the bolts. Gate control is currently off. A bunch of good medicines in the medicine cart. We'll take all of those. Super health hypo. A few more actually, what drugs do you need, Tip? Weight might be a concern if we do have to run. Inside this tank is a massive dried up human brain. There's no power to that organ tank. The computers are still off. Contained grossly oversized hearts with electrodes attached to them. Oh man. What was, the great city of Yith? When we had played Cthulhu, Call Cthulhu? Beyond the something? I can't remember the actual name of it now. These don't weigh very much. We can take all of these psionic trainers. These don't weigh very much. We take all of them too. Meg tracings. I can't pronounce that. Of a certain R. Jason's brain activity during high-frequency shadow wave exposure, as printed at the bottom. Doesn't look healthy one bit. Pacifier. A unique helmet. The cumbersome and clunky construction of this psionic headband suggests that it is just an experimental model. It seems that their designers were looking to enhance non-lethal psionic techniques. It doesn't matter what this does. I will not use it, because we need that extra psionic slot that our own headband gives us. But we might want to take it as a memento of us being in here. Oh, wait, hold on. This also does grant one additional side slot. Never mind. It does have an armor penalty, so we would lose our extra dodge and evasion. All psionic skills are increased by 25. Psion regeneration is increased by 3. And non-damaging psi abilities cost reduced by 30%. That would be most of my psionic powers. My speed up, slow down, and recursion. And our ability to set ourselves on fire. Everything else, though, gains a 40% psi cost increase. Our initiative decreases, and our chance to get critically hit is increased by 5%. No, I'm just going to leave that there. I do not want that. Looks like a head scanner, or maybe a projector of some kind. There's a lot of exposed cabling, mismatched and makeshift components, and otherwise clear signs of an ad hoc approach to constructing and modifying this device. You see dried blood on the backrest. Let's turn on the power, right? Actually, let's explore the rest of this place first. Now that is an interesting picture. Like a giant serpent or something. With 2 heads surrounding a planet or moon. Liquid crystal slime. We read about slime on the computer. When motionless, this liquid is viscous and sticks to the walls of the container. Its sparkling reflections richly colored. But when shaken, the liquid breaks up and turns into matte dry lumps. It remains so for a few moments, and then it resettles and reliquefies. Reminds me of that one liquid combination you can make. I forget what it's called now, but it's like a sticky liquid. But when you punch it or apply a bunch of force to it, the particles in it solidify, and it becomes solid as a rock. Well, is that right? You can drive on top of it or what have you, or like a bullet will cause it to shatter, even though it's made of liquid, and then all the bits reliquefy again. We're not getting any further in here without turning on the power. Alright. Let's look at what these computers have. Old information. Welcome, Pete Bridges. Unable to connect to ACID. Only local data is available. Documents. Shadow wave psychoprojection charts. Superseded standard information. Shadow wave frequencies. It lists the frequencies as they continue to increase, with more and more psionic and or visual, audio, or mental issues occurring the higher the frequency is. So, do we read all? I guess we'll read all of them all. The lowest level, no perceptible stimulation and no short-term effects. From up to 3 hertz, faint, distant aural beat in the range of 5 through 15 beats per minute. No visual stimulation. Up to 8 hertz. Deep stimulation, or 8 hertz max. Deep stimulation of unconscious cognition. Inductive reasoning, memory recollection, creativity, association, language, etc. Max 12 hertz. Deep sense of great relaxation and loss of sense of time and spatial awareness. Max 38 hertz. Lucid autovisual hallucinations. 42. Increased analytic cognitive performance, deductive reasoning, complex problem solving, etc. 60 hertz. Increased psionic performance across most disciplines. exhausting for non-psionic subjects, severe headaches in extreme cases. Frequencies higher than 60 Hz are considered dangerous and should only be used with psionic subjects while exercising extreme caution. Shadow dust inhalation. Once again, more Hertz, or rather shadow wave frequencies listed as Hertz. Sense of vermicular motion inside head and abdomen, mild headache and intestinal pain in approximately half of subjects. Up to 3 Hz. Violent pounding in ears, sometimes accompanied by hissing, growling, and screaming. No visual stimulation. Up to 8 Hz. Creeping terror, distress, coldness. I suffer from anxiety, so I'm assuming it's something similar to that, only probably more profound. 12 Hz. Sense of asphyxiation and claustrophobia. Wow! You feel like you can't breathe and you feel like you're enclosed in something. You've got to get out of there. I don't suffer from claustrophobia, but I imagine it must be horrifying. 38 Hz. Temporary loss of sight and hearing with the exception of sporadic audiovisual visions, most commonly containing flashing pairs of lights, serpentine motion, and indiscernible echoing sounds. Up to 38 to 42 Hz. Suicidal urges, madness, often leading to cerebral hemorrhaging and death. Complete and overwhelming sensory hallucinations. Frequencies higher than 42 Hz will consistently result in death of subjects that have inhaled shadow dust. How many people died, do you think, to get this information? Psychoprojection images. Dr. Mattel's drawings. The first drawing features a black background with a few white squiggly lines, some thicker, some thinner, nothing more. The second sketch is more elaborate. There are about 20 or so lines horizontally parallel to one another, with some having warm colorization, red, orange, yellow, etc., either all the way through or partially until turning white again. They are shaped like sine waves with smooth, constant amplitude, but some waves are only uniform up until they spiral out of order and outside the bounds of the drawing. The third sketch is yet more elaborate. The background is black, but all the lines are colored without restrictions. Their mutual spatial relationship feels organized in a fully two-dimensional way, while their shapes are more varied in size and proportions. It's still rounded for the most part. Simple geometrical shapes like triangles and squares split in half diagonally are also present, as if emerging from some kind of fabric formed by the underlying intertwistment of multicolored lines. Yet the form is purely abstract, and doesn't reference anything from the real world. The fourth drawing is completely blank. The fifth drawing can easily be mistaken for a long-lost work of abstract art. It is a fully colored, three-dimensional painting of a warped land or water, or something completely different, with angular shapes and complex geometry placed on it with a great sense of spatial awareness and proportion. The colors are overwhelming, as if the painter was compensating for their lack of vividness or some other inherent property, and many lines were drawn multiple times, with slight deviations in their dimensionality. You get the impression that the image is supposed to represent something, but it's difficult for you to discern what. The sixth drawing represents a cold, calculated organization of shapes, void of artistry and human emotion, a technical drawing in essence. The rounded shapes are predominant again, as well as a few merged tetrahedrons, and color are uniform in distribution and saturation. This is the first one that features text, formula that seem to describe properties of the drawn reality and relate them to our own. The seventh drawing is unfinished, being only about one-third done. It is a chaotic amalgamation of all the previous works, containing spirals and triangles with half-written formula. Its incompleteness doesn't have a sense of drawing direction you're familiar with. Instead, there are many holes in the composition. Certain spots just lack color, whereas some other spots are completely blank, and there are no discernible pattern to any of this. The drawing makes no sense to you. It also appears to be the last one in the folder. Early collection? This folder contains numerous drawings by various individuals, ranging from simple black and white sketches to colorful portrayals of mind-bending objects, worlds of purely abstract concepts. Rounded, wave-like, or spiraling lines pervade the imagery, and triangles, pyramids, or tetrahedrons, depending on dimensions featured, are also common motifs. There's a few notable ones. A transparent submarine dripping with black, slimy mass. Beams of light illuminate it from the dark below. A human figure cutting the monolith depicted as being laid down horizontally on the floor. There is black smoke rising from it, and filling the room before falling back down as specks of dust. Some strange flying machine with large wings speeding through fog. Its dimensions and other properties are written next to it. A man and woman with their hands reaching up. Tentacles emerge from below and hold them by their legs. Oh, the reaching man! Interesting. Anatomy of a woman with some unknown markings on her vital organs. Her skin is colored green. Contemporary collection. This folder contains numerous drawings by various individuals, most of them disturbing in form and content. They feature twisted perspectives, strong colors that bleed into one another, serpents and other sinister-looking creatures devouring or simply slaughtering humanoid beings, as well as creatures of other kinds. Some of these drawings contain formulas, occult rather than scientific, regarding things done to flesh that is often featured next to these inscriptions, drawn in one way or another. Some of the more notable ones are humanoid reptilians driving spears to a hairy, muscular, four-legged creature. They're in the middle of an endless pool of blood. A serpent constricting various objects, people, machines, cities, celestial bodies, and other things greater, often titled as Sormir, or Flotsorm, or more commonly, Flotsormir. A vortex of some kind, dark-centered and surrounded by people both alive and dead. All the living ones are bowing deeply, but the one who's sprinkling some kind of black dust all over it. The dead are never whole. I wonder if these are different dimensions or planes that people have seen, with Flossomer being one that stuck with the people who were researching stuff here. Reading that makes me want to play Planescape Torment again. My goodness. Maybe I should play that one again. Neuron mapping set. The dark screen slowly turns purple. Colorful and detailed spiraling shapes of mathematical perfection begin to appear in the middle of the screen, becoming more and more concentrated at the very center until a symmetrical image finally gains form. The shapes repeat in different configurations and are self-similar, composed of smaller, identical, or almost identical shapes to itself, diminishing in scale to apparent infinity. The text underneath the image indicates that the image is being rendered in real time from some kind of mathematical function, and you are given the option to zoom further in. Let's zoom in. You zoom into the center. The macro shape outgrows the screen and reveals its fractal composition, whose constituents then again grow larger and radiate away as you zoom in. Colors change and shapes reconfigure, and the longer you stare into the infinite center, the more it feels like you're descending into new realities, losing sight of the previous obvious patterns and building blocks. From purple vastness, you fall into a spiraling azure sea, whose surface forms the wall of the universe that swallows you and squeezes you past the bright stars and into quasir containing a lair of slithering serpents, between which clouds of glistening dust conceal scorching pits of molten rock, forming an iced island on which lush orange vegetation homes the swarms of yellow thousand-legged insects crawling around their monstrous black queen, whose single compound eye reflects floating polyhedrons, between which cosmic arts of lightning wreak havoc to disintegrate reality, and turn it into a single sprawling singularity of a massive paragraph without any periods or commas or anything, which is in fact a great serpent. You can no longer zoom in. Wow! Man, I'd love to have some artwork like that in my house. Any available servants here? No. What does this organ contain? The label reads Neo-Reptilian Brain. Shadow waves on living tissue. Affects DNA replication. Thus into the bloodstream, which will accelerate the process and cause biomolecules unknown. The screen displays an image of a dissected man. His body is twisted and atrophied, and certain patches of his skin feature reptilian scales. I guess they did look like assuming this is somewhat of what they had done to themselves eventually, I am guessing that they did indeed look like the Serpent Born. It's some kind of crudely constructed scanner. You can't deduce much from its appearance. Welcome, P. Bridges. Unable to connect to ASIN. Only local data is available. Documents. Shadowlith Archive. This is a collection of collaborative scientific notes, reports, and papers on Shadowlith recovered during Shadow Emission LEAD-129, which wiped out most of the data in the Special Laboratory database. The collection is incomplete and provides limited corporeal insight into the most basic interactions between Shadowlith and our reality. It should only serve for archival purposes. Discovery. The Black Monolith was first uncovered at the Abyssal Excavation Site 6, exact year and date unknown. Let's estimate between LEBD 20 and 30, several years after the construction of Abyssal Station 0. The monolith is a 3-meter tall, deep black structure in the shape of a hexagonal prism, augmented with pyramidal frustrums at its top and bottom. It is composed of a material so dense it required 4 heavy sublifters to bring it to the station. At 108 tons, its density was calculated to be 30.061 grams per centimeters cubed. Transporting it from the manufacturing dome required reinforcing the floor with RG panels and using super lubricant mats to eliminate friction when pushed by strongmen. Wow! I don't remember even half of that, but that thing was heavy. Composition test number 142 and 143. The test was performed after an upgrade to the nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscope, that must be what's next to us, in the hopes that it will finally allow us to determine the molecular structure of the Black Monolith after numerous failed attempts. To our dismay, but sadly consistent with all our previous tests, this one too gave no results. The Black Monolith is impenetrable to all our instruments and impervious to all tools with which we've tried to obtain samples. In agreement with Dr. Marison, we are ceasing all attempts at further testing the monolith's physical properties until means to obtain samples are provided. We will instead focus all of our research on the shadow waves. Dr. Leif Bolton. Shadow waves. A shadow wave is a transverse wave radiated by the Black Monolith, which during its first half period exhibits measurable physical interactions, positive extancy, but no measurable interactions during its second half period, negative extancy. In normal conditions, the change between positive and negative extancy occurs at frequencies of less than 0.2 Hz, meaning that the wave completes one full cycle in 0.4 Hz with an average wavelength of 16 microns. The points where extancy states come to an end are called shadow wave extancy limits, or more specifically, negative and positive extancy limits for each of the respective states of interaction. The extent to which the shadow waves interact with material reality is not yet known, but so far we've measured the more obvious electromagnetic interactions, effects of shadow waves on electromagnetic fields by Dr. E. Herman Sigmarsson. Some weak nuclear interactions, radioactive decay at shadow wave extancy limits by Dr. Tarbin Vorgar, and some strong nuclear interactions, quark cryodynamic permutations at shadow wave extancy limits by Dr. Stor Oyvinder. Unaccounted for increases and decreases in mass at extancy limits have also been measured, but due to its inconsistent manifestation and magnitude, we've yet to draw solid conclusions with respect to gravitational effects of the wave. Most of these permutations and otherwise unexplained phenomena occur near or at the limits, whereas during positive extancy, the shadow wave carries energy in the form of regular electromagnetic wave, starting at the negative and ending at the positive period of the time, in which a somewhat predictable fashion, depending on properties measured. How the energy is carried from positive to negative extancy limits, for all intents and purposes, how the wave comes to existence again, and why and how these limits, which can be presented as fields constraining these interactions, manifest in space is yet unknown. What is clear is that the changes in this electromagnetic component, wave, during positive extancy of the shadow wave is conserved throughout its negative extancy, meaning that it is without a doubt the same wave which alternates between affecting and not affecting physical reality, as all of our research suggests, in quite possibly all of its fundamental aspects. The electromagnetic wave, which we've studied the most in all our interactions, exhibits an unusual kind of elliptical polarization, defined by Holdenson's disjoint function. Informally, it has been dubbed the serpentine polarization, as its graph representation bears the likeness of a snake spiraling through space. All attempts at polarizing the wave in any way have proven unsuccessful, as the wave will be repolarized as soon as the shadow wave enters its negative ecstasy, meaning that, after passing negative ecstasy limit, the EM wave will again have serpentine polarization. No matter what they do, it's going to end up being Flotzimer. Shadow Wave Manipulation by Dr. Gustav Marson. So far, we've determined that shadow wave can be partially manipulated through changes in electromagnetic field during positive ecstasy. This means that by giving the wave more energy at appropriate ecstasy limits, we can, for instance, change its frequency in a manner that is consistent with our understanding of laws of reality. However, this also produces amplified and so far unpredictable quantum effects at its ecstasy limits, both positive and negative, depending on how the wave has been manipulated and the medium through which it passes. The shadow waves can be directed through space by guiding them into Orion tubes with a massive magnetic field shaper at the base of the monolith. These tubes, we can shoot photons at specific intervals, aiming for either negative or positive ecstasy limits, so that we may study the resulting quantum interactions. The process can be dangerous if too much energy is introduced, which has resulted in 2 accidents already, but controlled wave manipulation at positive limits will create relatively stable changes in the wave. What quantum interactions occur at negative limits, unlike the creation of new particles, actual and not virtual, is currently beyond the scope of our understanding. Object Negation Experiment number 5. This experiment was conducted to test the hypothesized complete negation of objects from reality with PSWB, Phase Shadow Wave Beam, technology. The object used for this experiment is a standard-sized pseudobrass cup suspended in an MO5 testing sphere. By channeling the shadow wave through 2 5.3 meter long Orion tubes, introducing increasing amounts of energy at every positive limit, we were able to achieve desired frequency of 67.5 Hz for both waves. One wave is continuously phase shifted in the range of 75 to 185 degrees, while the PSWB is being focused on the cup. After the darkening effect has been achieved, another energy surge is needed to completely negate the cup from existence, a process which occurred in less than 0.15 seconds. The experiment, besides proving that negation hypothesis, also proves Boltzmann's principle that strong chemical bonds will ensure the whole objects will be affected. In conclusion, the 5th test was a complete success, the only losses being the 2 Orion tubes and 1 MO5 sphere. However, those could hardly be called losses, not because of relatively small cost of the equipment, but most so due to the fact that the changes in their chemical structure and the formation of these unknown liquid crystal compounds will provide our team with new studying material. Anthropomorphic disk. Today we received something called an anamorphic disk. Anamorphic disk. It is supposedly capable of cutting the black monolith. This is what I thought that one object was that we got from Junkyard, from that one strange disc that we received that the scrappers wanted. It came in an external shipment, the details of which are oddly kept away from all of us, lowly engineers. At first glance, it is a rather unimpressive rubbery disc, 20 centimeters in diameter and 1 centimeter thick! Gray in color and a rough texture, made out of some unknown synthetic material we were explicitly instructed not to scan and to keep in cryo except during use. This thing is something no sane person would see as a cutting tool, let alone something we could damage an object as impervious as a black monolith. However, after doing some testing at the shop, we now view the anamorphic disc in a completely different light. The disc arrived with a SEDAR SG88M large diameter grinder, on whose end it is to be attached, which frankly gives it a comically disproportionate appearance. Speaking of comical, are we really expected to believe that such a primitive tool as a mechanical grinder with a rubber gasket at its end will achieve what the most technologically advanced lasers and plastic cutters at our disposal can't? These thoughts went through all of our minds, and then we fired the thing up. Within the span of a second, the disc flattened while tripling in diameter, its gray color becoming much lighter in shade. In this state, the disc could cut anything we tested it on: pseudobrass, steel, all the way to stronger alloys and minerals, even a G5 rated diamond, and did so with little resistance. Will it cut the monolith? That would be the ultimate test. We were instructed to modify a strongman to use the grinder and ensure that it's capable of performing the cut, taking all the potential variables into account. Well, yeah, they came up with those, but what I do know is I'm just an engineer. Hopefully the cut will be performed tomorrow, after which I will file another report. Chief Station Engineer Boris Grayson. Well, we see that they were successful at it. And there, viewer, is the acorn. I guess, since we made it all this way, we are taking it. First, loot. We got some decent quality sonic components. This would be where we can find a much better electroshock generator, and we're not going to get lucky enough to find one, I see. I don't think I particularly care about too many of these weapons. I'll take these. Nothing else here interests me. I could swear that they lowered the crossbow costs too recently. Some of these things look like they should be worth a lot more money. But I don't see... Yeah, everything else here is just okay. A strongman head. It's got bird marks that rise from the neck and sprawl towards the top of the head. They emit a faint purple glow. This must be the head of the strongman that they used to cut that shadow with. Well, that's really it, huh? Nothing else here. Alright. I guess we're going to take the acorn, viewer. Combat has now started. Now, I don't know how to do this fight. So let's start. Can I drink the juice? Oh! And with the... I've heard this could be the case. With the juice drank, we can actually see the void creatures defined a bit better now. Can I blast the Shadowlith and this creature? We missed our first shot with it. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you, Stig. Let's run over this direction. Oh, there's no cooldown on this, though. Alright, let's try this again. I want to light this whole area up. Oh, they take fire damage! Oh, that's good to know. Let's uncanny dodge here. I don't know if I'm hurting the Shadowlith at all. Maybe we should have interacted with the Shadowlith before we took the acorn? Oh, wow, we are being hurt. Yeah, another miss. That's fantastic. I'm gonna do it. No, okay, so we're not allowed to interact with it. Okay, it looks like we can't hurt it at all. My recollection about these creatures is that they'll spawn endlessly. That one also missed. I like that our 90% chances to hit here. Like it's like the opposite of what I'm used to with our grenades. Okay, viewer, I think we can't do anything here. Yeah, I don't know what we're supposed to do, so I'm just going to reload the game. So the only thing we have not done is interact with the actual shadow lith itself. So let's go ahead and interact with it. To merely call the monolith dark would not be accurate. Its blackness is not really the lack of reflected light, but emptiness in every way. Its space is not vacant or filled with dark substance, but rather it feels as though there is not even any space there. There is more like a tear in space-time, esoteric reality itself revealing the nothingness beyond. At the same time, the monolith does appear as if it has some sort of existence itself, and its existence seems clearer and more fundamental than that of everything else around it. One of the corners seems to have been cut off, giving you a glimpse inside the monolith. A sight of endless expanses populated by dimmed purple, bluish and reddish light, sparsely lit by bright white particles, all swirling endlessly without aim in fine purple mist through the black void. We're gonna die, but we just save the game. Reach out and touch the monolith. So I don't think I've ever done any of this. Let's touch the monolith. It feels smooth to the touch. It's neither cold nor warm. How about where it was cut? You scramble up the slippery monolith until you can just about reach the cut part. Then you slowly insert your fingers inside, but immediately withdraw them due to searing pain. You slide down in panic and inspect your hand. The very tips of your fingertips appear as if they were cut off with surgical precision. Did we gain any? We just took some damage, but that was it. Reach out for the monolith with your mind. You focus your mind on the monolith. The experience is unlike anything you've ever known before. All the thoughts you direct towards the monolith are swallowed by its infinitely hungry darkness. You persist in your attempts, and soon you can feel your consciousness gliding over the surface of the void represented by the monolith. Every now and then, with your mind's eye, you can see a spark inside the void that lights it up, and when the void is lit up, it projects many sounds, colors, shapes, thoughts, and other concepts and elements. Curved rays of light, many-dimensional pockets of space, liquid color that springs from ethereal fountains, purple fires that burn in reverse. None of these you can experience fully, and some are too strange and unintuitive to even behold. Those remain veiled inside the void. But there are also awful things in the void. Long, sinewy worms with needles at their tips, amorphous blobs of corrosive gelatinous matter, Curtains of razor wire cutting through thick fleshy smoke and other things too gruesome to describe. But these things don't seem to have a life of their own. But instead, every glimpse of this deranged spectacle, you pay a blood price. You're unable to maintain your focus long, and when it finally breaks, you feel drained and empty, unable to move. Your vision turns dark until you are nearly blind. Even your thoughts seem to be slowing down and are dangerously close to stopping. You start to panic, scared that your own existence will come to an end soon, and you will disintegrate into innumerable dust particles and be swallowed up by the void. It's as if all your will, all your life force has been taken from you. Realizing that you cannot will your way out of this predicament, you do your best to calm yourself and let this paralysis of being come upon you completely. Your thoughts keep slowing down and your vision darkens until everything is completely still and dark. But somewhere deep inside, there's a persistent pulse and an eye that you can still see. Slowly but surely, your mind starts grinding again, and your senses are restored to you. You might have been dead for a moment, but you seem fine now. There's something in the back of your brain that still bothers you greatly, though. There was something else in the void, far worse than the terrible things you remember seeing there. It might have been made out of those things you really resided with inside them. Maybe the horrors seen were made out of it or by it. You're not sure. But its form seems eerily familiar to you, and its hateful, devouring eyes were upon you. We gained a feat, outer vision. So should we have interacted with the juice in effect, I wonder? What did we get feat-wise? You've seen the wondrous possibilities of the outer expanses, both the beautiful and the abominable, and you're now less inclined to believe in the necessity of the limits of this particular physical world. Range of all psi abilities increased by 1. Oh, hey, nice! No penalties, huh? We'll keep it. Let's treat the juice and interact with this thing again. So if I do this again? No, we can't do so. Okay. Then, viewer, I'll be back. I need to look. I've been told that we can do something with the torch here with the monolith. So I want to see what that is. And I'll be back. Alright, viewer. From what I can tell, we were doing it correctly. We're just supposed to smash, we're supposed to use the ethereal torch around here somewhere. So here's what we're going to do. Alright? We're going to do the battle against the Shadowlith, and that we're going to do exactly what we did last time. And if we end up dying, we'll do it again. And if we die a second time, I will run out of this room instead of trying to defeat it. So that will be the plan. Okay, here we go. Let's set ourselves on fire. I don't see any damage listed, but I will assume we are doing something to it. I cannot attack the Shadowlith in any way. Oh, I do like that the image here is now glowing. And it looks like it's reversed. It's like a serpent surrounding an eclipse of some sort. That is not a good chance to hit this. We can hurt them, though. Probably because of the juice. Man, that is not a good chance to hit at all. I guess no matter what, every turn, we need to throw the torch in that direction. It's immune to my psionic. It's immune to the pyroblast's actual hit, but the fire on the ground damages them. If, by the way, if we kill like 50 of these things and there's no damage to the Shadowlith, I will just give up. And we'll just run away. Oh, we can destroy it. Oh, I was probably very close the first time then. Alright. I feel kind of really bad for destroying it, actually. I wonder if it changes anything. Alright, well, we did so. This is the... We're going to keep this result. Shadow dust. Fine pitch black dust. You scoop out a handful and it feels completely weightless. Actually, somehow your hand feels lighter holding it. In a couple of seconds, the dust fades out of existence, only leaving behind faint shadow on your palm that lingers a few minutes more than it too is gone. We can study it twice, which makes me think, oh, the bit that was cut off is probably with the Serpentborn, and probably has the other one of those with it. So viewer, I'm having a bit of a dilemma. So I'm going to stop here and ask you guys what you think I should do. So, realistically, we've learned a little bit. So I'm trying to understand, like, okay, we just used the torch to defeat the Shadowlith, as we've done. The only reason why we've even done this is because, like, we used the torch here on the Shadowlith. Is not because of anything we've learned from Yangwar. We've learned that the torch can damage them in particular and hurt them. And we can probably guess that the Serpentborn started with some influence from the Shadowlith. And this effect is giving them what they gain. And the torch counteracts it. But I would not have normally ever used, especially because I don't see any numbers coming off the Shadowlith, the torch on the Shadowlith itself. I never would have done it. The only reason why we even did it is because in the years since this expansion has come out, I have read that it can be used as such. Should we keep this result? Do you think Tim has learned enough to do this? Or should we just run away from it and use the torch to clear these creatures as they spawn and try to get us as we run out of the R&D and take Todd with us? What should we do? Because I can just reload the game and just do that exact thing instead. I think that'd be more appropriate. So let me know what you think. And we will do it. Whatever I get the more votes for. If I get no votes, I will reload the game and undo what we just did, and instead run out to this facility. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, everyone.